Afternoon, everyone. Welcome. Thanks for joining us. This is NASCA's Winter Thought Leadership Series. See folks dialing in, folks from around the country. So glad to have you with us today. This is a continuation of our virtual experience and our opportunity to network and engage, bring everyone together where we can't be together in person. So having an opportunity to continue to discuss some of the most pressing issues in the state, which is exactly what we're going to be doing today. You'll see on the screen our sponsors. Please take a moment, recognize them, say thank you to them. We could not be doing this work without their generous support. Don't forget that we have 2 more days in December to come together, this Thursday and again next Tuesday. We'll take a break for the holidays and come back for a few days in January. Also, thanks to our program committee. You see their names on the screen. Again, could not really put off these world class events without their support, their guidance, and their leadership. So welcome. See a lot of folks dialing in now. We're going to give them just another moment or two. If you haven't already done so, please hover over your name and list your name and your state or your company if you're one of our private sector friends, so that we know who's with us on the call today. We're going to have some small group conversation, really unpack some of the most pressing issues that we've heard from our state chief administrators, and we want to make sure that everyone has an opportunity to engage, network, and talk. And then we want to make sure who we have on the call with us. So we've got a great group with us, and again, welcome to NASCA's Winter Thought Leadership Series. Thanks for joining us today. I still see a few folks dialing in, but we'll let them join us as we go ahead and move forward with our agenda today. Again, we're going to have an opportunity to really take a hard look at what's happening in states, talk about some priorities, talk about some concerns or challenges, how other states are addressing those, perhaps how you're dealing with some conflict around these as well. Really looking at your decision-making structure and approach, and have a great conversation around that. And then we also want to have a fun activity and have an opportunity to network, meet each other, and continue to find ways that we can engage with each other in this virtual world. We also have a couple of fun awards to hand out with us today. So a full agenda. Again, thrilled to have you with us. Before we get too far in our agenda, let me recognize one of our sponsors who has been such a great friend of NASCA, UKG. Many of you may know them as Kronos, but they are now UKG. And Pat Bennett is with us here today, and Pat's going to share a little bit and a word before we kick off. So Pat, let me turn it over to you.
Thank you. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, we got you.
Awesome. Good afternoon or good morning, everyone, depending on where you're at. It's great to be with you virtually. I wish we could be together in person. I never thought I would say I missed travel because I traveled so much, but I miss travel. I can't wait the next year until we're back together. It's a pleasure to be here today. We've been members of NASCA for 8+ years. And as Pam said, UKG, the Ultimate Kronos Group, we merged with Ultimate Software during a merger, during a pandemic, which has been a lot of fun, all virtual. But it's good to be the UKG group. And as you guys, some of you know, we have a presence in about 30+ states across the United States. And we basically help you guys manage your labor more effectively. We help you with compliance, tracking good versus bad overtime, scheduling. So it's a pleasure to work with the states that we work with, and we'd love to work with more. So let us know. States are much like all of our other cross-vertical industries. You've got corrections and transportation and healthcare. So again, we handle those complexities pretty well. And for further information, we have a session that we're doing with Betsy Thomas, who's the director of HR for the Department of Corrections in Georgia, at 2:30 on Thursday. So we'd love for you to join us. It's entitled Managing Labor Complexities in Corrections. And while some of you may not even have corrections, it's more of a complex state agency. So don't turn it off just because it's corrections, because I think you'd learn a lot. All of you have some complexities in your state. So that's it for UKG. This session is an exciting opportunity you'll have to select from 5 priorities in state government operations and have a dialogue with your colleagues from around the country. In a moment, you'll get a chance to go into breakout rooms with a facilitator who will help guide the discussion around opportunities and challenges states are facing. And there's 5 different topics, and those include worker re-entry and space planning, productivity measures for remote staff. Both those are huge on all of our minds, I think. Digitization of services and processes is a third one. The fourth is diversity, equity, and inclusion in procurement. And the fifth is somewhat related to that. It's diversity, equity, and inclusion action steps you can take now. So worker reentry and space planning, productivity measures for remote staff, digitization of services and processes, and then DEI and procurement and DEI action steps you can take now. So once you get in your small groups, you'll come back and do a quick report out after your small groups. You'll do a report out to the whole group, and then we'll have an opportunity to select a second group to join this afternoon in those sessions. So I know this will be an exciting session. And with all that said, Pam, I'm going to turn it back over to you.
Great, Pat. Thank you so much. And again, we appreciate your long-standing support of NASCA. So glad to have you with us today.
Thank you.
So I think, I'm going to pop over to our Richmond studio. Our numbers are a little off from what we had expected. We know it's a crazy busy time for everybody. But hey, Richmond folks, what do you think? Let's maybe pull this down to 3 breakouts instead of 5 today.
Yeah, 3 breakouts sounds right, Pam. So I think what we're going to do is the diversity, equity, and inclusion in procurement. So we can jump into that, or really we'll just have a DEI conversation. And I think Cara is going to jump in and help us out with that. Is that right? And then Pam, you and Scott are popping to another conversation. Where are you guys heading?
We're going to talk about worker reentry, space planning, and also some productivity measures for remote staff. So we'll combine those 2 together.
Okay, and that leaves a third, right?
Yeah, let's let Jamie talk about digitization and what's happening around some services and processes in a new remote world. So we're going to give you all an opportunity to self-select. So you saw the screen from Kayla. And Kayla, do you mind putting that back up for everybody? We'll talk through this really quickly. We want to make sure you get in and have an opportunity to chat with your colleagues. But if you're looking at A or B, worker reentry, space planning, productivity measures for remote staff, you can select A or B and go ahead and drop that in when she opens the breakout rooms, if you can self-select. And then you can also self-select C or D or E, and that's going to put you in that room. So again, A and B will be combined. C is a standalone, and then D and E will be combined as well. For those of you who have the new Zoom feature, you'll be able to self-select as soon as Kayla brings it up. If you can't, you can drop it in a chat, and she will drop the letter A through E. She'll put you directly in the breakout rooms. We're going to have about 20 minutes to have a conversation. There'll be a facilitator in each to help guide that. And then we're going to come back and report out. And then you'll have an opportunity to select a second time. So pick your top 2, and you'll get a chance to talk through both of those today. You'll see the 3 prompts on the screen here as well, but each of the facilitators have these. Will be able to help you through that. But really, we want to hear about your top priorities as far as your challenges and concerns in these areas. What's the most important lesson that you've learned? And then if we've got some time, we really want to talk about conflict as well. If you've had some conflict around these topics, how'd you handle it? This is more around decision making. So we're excited about these small group conversations. Kayla, are we ready to open some breakout rooms? So Kayla's going to open the breakout rooms for us. Again, self-select if you have the new Zoom features. If not, drop that in chat and she will automatically put you in. So through the magic of Zoom.
Hey, Cara. Give me a sec. Let me get some volume going here.
everyone. Hey, Dustin or Brian. Kayla may have already done this. Is she helping you get into a room?
What were the room choices again?
All right, Dustin, do you want to go talk about workforce or DEI?
Option C.
You can stay here and talk to me about, well, one is DEI and procurement.
I know, but we talked about that already. So how many people are in each room?
Okay, so we have breakout. Workforce has about 20 and DI looks to have about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13.
Okay, I guess I'll go to that second one. That's fine.
All right, let me. Do you see in front of you a breakout options?
No.
No. You put in waiting room. So I see Kayla for him as either the option to put in waiting room or put in the main room. She's probably working on the back end right now. Usually I can just drag and drop your names. Spotlight everyone allowed. Oh, okay. Pam can't hear. She can't hear me because she's in one of the breakout rooms. All right, I'm going to type here. Dustin in. And then Brian, I don't know if you can hear me. If there's a room you prefer, workforce or DEI?
DEI would be great.
Yeah,
and I don't have the choices on the screen either.
Perfect. All right, I just messaged her.
Perfect. Thank you.
Oh, yeah. And it looks like she is. All right. So we've got Brian and Dustin. I don't know if Dan or Michael or Tammy or Patrick want to go to a room. And if you want to chat me, you can just chat me and I can get you plugged away. Okay, Michael.
Yeah,
I got
A or
you.
B.
Yeah, I see that. Awesome.
Thank you.
Yeah. And I see Dan also. Yep, Patrick as well. And then I think all I have left is Tammy in Florida.
All right, welcome back. I see everyone coming back to the main room. I hope you had a great conversation. I know we did in our room. We always run out of time. Never quite get to the end of those conversations, but I appreciate all of you all engaging. We're going to take a quick little dip or a pause, if you will, along the same conversation that we want to really kind of take a pulse of what the states are feeling as far as top priorities. And our Richmond studio is going to pull up an opportunity for you to respond to this question. You can either pull up your QR reader, scan the barcode there, or go directly to slido.com. The password is #NASCA. But we really want you to take an opportunity to select your top 5 main priorities. You may know that each year NASCA releases top 10 priorities for state chief administrators. And although this is not going to be, a heavily researched option, this definitely gives you an idea, gives us an idea of what you're facing in your states. So again, the prompt here is looking forward. We're thinking about 2021. What are your top 5 priorities as far as the areas of strategic importance where you plan to really focus your time, direct your attention, really where you're expecting to be utilizing most of your decision-making time, as well as your resources. And this is both financial resources, staff resources, to improve your agency performance over the next 12 months. So again, we're looking at 2021, looking at this list here. Really want you to scroll through this, pause for just a moment, and then answer on behalf of your state really where your top 5 focal areas will be. So we're going to give everyone just another minute to look at this. And again, this is not a heavily scientific study, but it really gives NASCA the opportunity to hear from you, to help us inform as we're crafting the top 10 priorities for the state chief administrators in 2021. So is it around DEI? Is it around your data? Is it risk management, supplier diversity, workforce planning, recruiting, sustainability and energy efficiency, looking at your workspaces, workplaces, reducing your footprint? Is that going to be one of your top 5 areas? So you can select 5. And again, we do ask you to just look through this list. Tell us which of these 5 your state expects to be putting most of your time and efforts in 2021. Give you about 10 more seconds, and then we'll have our Richmond studio close this. We'll do a report out from each of our rooms, and then give you an opportunity to go back into another discussion with a small group. All right, wonderful. Thank you for responding to that. If you don't have a chance to do that while we're in this pause right here, you can always continue to share your responses on Slido. So let me call on Cara and Ace. Tell us what you all talked about in your room around DEI.
So first, a mention, I'm the worst facilitator ever. I had it on speaker view and saw 4 people, but there were really like 12 people in the room. So my apologies to those of you, and will never ask me to facilitate again. So Ace, I don't know, I'm gonna let Ace, do you want to talk, or otherwise I can jump in however you want to proceed? I'm so sorry.
Ace, you're on mute.
There we go. I knew I was going to do it at some point today. Now is the time. I'll make it snappy. We had the 3 questions going in, but Cara kicked it off really well and just asked what's actually working. So we got some feedback. Leslie and John from Indiana shared some pieces. Chris Liu shared out as well. And I liked Chris's approach of what's the core problem that we're actually trying to solve. DEI is this really big, hairy conundrum, and it feels like a thing that's hard to overcome or work through. And so breaking that down into sub pieces. And then another thing that stood out is you don't need everybody on board to start an initiative. You need a critical mass or your major departments within your agency. And so there was this really kind of tactical approach to how you start getting the work done, and ultimately how you get over some of the hurdles that might exist in the bureaucracy of state government. Cara?
Sure. So we started talking about just generally, we call it EDI because we have to be different in Colorado, DEI, and the issue of like managing it enterprise-wise, department-wise, and individual-wise, and all of the different conversations and change management and training and the complexity and the interrelations between that. And then we sort of pivoted to procurement and some things that are working well. Having lots of us do pre-bid conferences, but really making sure that those are very thorough. How you do points and evaluations are obviously key. Dustin is a vendor now, was on the procurement side for the state, but is now a vendor, and talked about connecting subs and primes. So is there a way to make that available so that people bidding on the contract can see and then partner, which I thought was a great idea. Also focusing first on construction was another good idea, so that, because this is a almost tested and true way to move people from small subs and moving up into bigger ownerships of businesses. So we talked a little bit about that as well. Also a little bit about waiving bonding requirements, insurance requirements, those kinds of things.
Great, thank you all. Sounds like you had a very rich conversation, and sounds like you probably didn't have as much time as you needed, like our room. And I'll just quickly touch on a couple of highlights, and then Scott can add too. It was kind of interesting in our room. We had some pretty stark differences. Talking with California, South Dakota, Arizona, just different folks talking a little bit about how things are different across the country. South Dakota, Scott was sharing that almost all of his team is back in the office. Nelson was saying in Maryland, interestingly enough, the drama in the workplace has really just gone away. Because you don't have any of those direct in-office concerns. California is doing a lot of really, really fun things. They have a telework site for their employees, have a lot of programs around culture, around engagement, making sure that their employees stay and remain engaged with each other. And the other thing too, I'll say from Brom in Michigan, saying that we're likely not going to be 100% remote into the future. There will still be that component, but there's probably going to be some movement in and out. So perhaps you're working in the office 1 or 2 days and you're at home 3 or 4. So probably, just due to some security and technology concerns, likely not going to be 100% telework across the board, across the state. Scott, did I miss anything from our conversation?
No, I think you did a great job of covering it, Pam. The summary, I think, is that the issue of where people work, the environment in which they work, and the equity around where they work is interesting. I think there's some parallels with the DEI conversation, is that not everybody's home environment is the same, not everybody's connectivity is the same, has suddenly created this complex minefield for everybody to navigate. So a subject that would have been relatively simple about number of desks and phone lines has now become a very sophisticated HR issue.
Definitely. Well, we're going to have a chance to do this one more time. So we're going to allow you to self-select again. So if you want to continue the conversation, feel free to go back. If you want to choose another room, please do so. Again, we're combining A and B. So Kayla, if you'll bring that slide up one more time for us. And then we're also combining D and E. So again, A and B, worker reentry productivity measures. We did talk a little bit about some space planning, facilities management as well. Digitization is the second option, and then DEI the third. So again, if you don't have the Zoom feature where you can self-select, drop your letter in chat. Kayla will move you. Give her just a moment to do that. Otherwise, we're going to open the rooms, self-select, and we'll see you in the room.
Hey, I had to step out for a minute. Is there anybody still here to put me in a room?
fight.
Welcome back, everybody. I see everybody coming back into the main room. Hope you had a great conversation. I know we did in our breakout room. You know, it was really interesting when we were pulling these 5 different topics together as we were making plans over the past few weeks. I personally thought we were going to go in a totally different direction. I thought we were going to talk more about bringing folks back into the office, about space planning, a little bit around, you know, facilities footprint, which we know all critical conversations, but both of our rooms really went in a totally different direction, yet the same direction. Much more around culture, around ensuring mental health and wellness for staff across the states. And I find that really both encouraging and challenging, because it's definitely something that's on all of your radars, and I'm excited to hear more about that. Yet I'm also hearing that we don't necessarily have all the programming that we need. EAP programs are there, but we certainly need a lot more. I was encouraged to hear Christy in Tennessee talk about their DGS Cares program. You can reach out to Christy or look on their website. They just brought a speaker in from the Tennessee Suicide Prevention Group to talk to their team. California is doing some great things with culture, engagement, and really just the increase in need for those employees. Again, we're hearing that those counseling sessions are getting longer and more in number. So if there's anything NASCA can do to help you gain more resources or assistance, let us know. But great conversation in our room again, not directly where we thought we were headed, but interesting that both groups felt that the conversation around mental health is so critical at this point. So let's pop over to DEI. Cara, Ace, what did you all talk about in this group?
So this was a different conversation, which was great to hear and learn from others. Some of the things that are working really well is I actually let Brian speak this time. So I think that is something I should do more often. But what he highlighted for us was every single budget request their governor is putting forward, the very first question they're addressing is, how does this address racial equity? So you can imagine the lens at which you do all your programming, and every dollar spent goes through that, how it really shifts culture and priorities in your organization. So just an amazing example there. We also talked a lot about data and how you do data in this area, and looking at the data to justify that you should continue down that path or stop and try something else. Like, we're all kind of new and moving into this space, and we're going to fail. And so one of those options needs to be stop what we're doing, pivot. Also, the need to talk to our customers. Like, don't just sit in a room and come up with the ideas of what you think will help the vendors be more successful in creating equitable business solutions, but bring them into the conversation. We also talked about some people, agencies and governments having equity officers at each of the agencies, and then finding the resources to resource them so that they can focus exclusively on that work. And then also around one of the solutions in the procurement area was matching codes with contracts to actually get the data to ensure that you're doing something correctly and it's making a change, but also having primes or big vendors have small business plans with a target of having 25% small businesses, and reviewing that as part of your RFP or solicitation process and scoring it. And that's been really effective in making the vendors do some of this work for you, but also being very cautious where if a small business doesn't provide commercial usefulness, that you terminate them. So trying to make sure that you are appropriately awarding contracts in all aspects. That summarizes if I missed anything.
Great. Thanks, Cara. And Jamie, how about your group around digitization?
Yeah, we had several people that were really listening in. They didn't feel like they were at the forefront of this, but were working towards this. So we have someone that I thought, Patrick from Florida on the line, who is going to talk about there's some really great stuff happening in Florida and kind of share that. Let's see if Patrick's still, there he is. All right, Patrick, if you want to tell him kind of what happened, what we were talking about in our group.
Absolutely. Hope everyone's doing well. So what we talked about kind of on a couple different levels is just kind of how different states have, different agencies have different levels of technology, different levels of sophistication. What we're doing a little bit in Florida is kind of a focus on cloud first priority for our data. We're looking at data cataloging, and we're looking at just digitization processes kind of across the board. Kind of the example I use is in the HHS arena, not having a customer have to fill out the same form, whether it's digital or paper, 5 different times for 5 different agencies. How do we share the data that all these agencies have? And obviously, in some of those respects, there are federal restrictions on what can be shared, and some of those things to work through, and that's part of the process. But how do we ultimately make the customer experience better? How do we wrap our arms around what data agencies have? Because it's valuable and it can be used in a lot of different ways. So that's been, over the last couple of years, that's been our focus in Florida, is how to drive towards cloud, how to get a good understanding of the data we have, and how do we make that, how do we use that data the most efficient way?
Yeah. And then you also talked about your relationship with the legislature has been really important during this cloud first model. If you'll just share that, and then
Sure.
that'll put a bow on our group.
Yeah, so in the process of moving down the path of a cloud policy, our strategy has been to be open, transparent, proactive in our discussions, both with the legislature, but also with the vendor community, and making sure that as we kind of go down this path, that we're having conversations with the cloud vendors, we're having conversations with the hardware vendors, and we're bringing them all into the conversation so that they can be part of the solution. And I think that really worked out well for us. We got a lot of buy-in, a lot of input, and kind of worked through it. We went through a rulemaking process a couple of years back with the agencies, but we brought the vendors into that process, and I think that was very helpful to make sure that we could have a successful launch and we could get that buy-in, so we had less resistance during the legislative process.
Great. Thank you all so much. Well, I hope you all enjoyed these small group conversations. Again, we learned so much at NASCA, but I hope you're learning from your colleagues as well, and having the opportunity to not only share, but to gather and gain new insights as well. So thank you all for participating. So we're going to shift gears completely. We've got a couple of awards to hand out, and we are very excited about that. We're going to turn to our Richmond studio, who they are all blitzed and glammed up. And we're going to highlight a couple of states this afternoon. So, Richard, we're going to turn it over to there. They are.
All right. So
Hello.
we're back for another Innovations in State Government Award. Really excited about this category. We're talking financial management.
Yep. And we are giving out 2 awards today in this category. So we will go ahead and get right into it, I guess. So the first award.
Yeah, the first award goes to the state of Florida for their shared savings program, which is really cool. As Claire and I were doing some homework, of course, you'll hear from the state of Florida. But a couple high level points on that program, which is really exciting.
Yeah, so they basically implemented this healthcare transparency tool that provided members opportunity to shop for their healthcare. It was high quality, lower cost, and since January 2019 till August 2020, they have saved just under $8 million, just almost $8 million, which is insane.
Yeah, that is incredible work from Florida. So we are going to head to the state of Florida to hear more about that shared savings program. Congratulations, Florida.
Congratulations.
Hi, I'm Jonathan Satter, Secretary of the Florida Department of Management Services. On behalf of our team, I would like to thank the National Association of State Chief Administrators for selecting Florida's Shared Savings Program for the annual Innovation in State Government Award for Financial Management. Launched last year, the Savings Program is designed to support Governor DeSantis' bold vision for increased transparency, quality, and reduce costs in healthcare. From the onset, our team worked to build consensus with our legislative and executive partners to support this program, which encourages members to make more informed decisions about their health. By providing digital, app-based access to transparent pricing on facilities and procedures, our members can shop for high-quality healthcare services select the best option for their back pocket and save taxpayer dollars. After completing the procedure at the facility of their choosing, members are awarded a portion of the savings, which can be spent on other healthcare services through an FSA, HSA, or HRA account. I can speak from experience that this program is easy and works. When I needed an MRI for my elbow, I was able to use these services to search for the best option for my family and in turn save the state money. Since inception, over 10,000 procedures and surgeries have been completed through our providers, resulting in over 7.6 million savings to taxpayers and 1.7 million in awards to our members. It is my goal as Secretary that we continue to identify efficiencies that reduce costs and maintain superior customer service. Thank you for your support and recognition of this innovative program and to the hard work of our Division of State Group Insurance. If you're interested in learning more about implementing this program in your state, contact us today.
And we're back. Congratulations again to the state of Florida. We've got our second award now to hand out, and it's in the same category, financial management. So thinking about the way we're more fiscally responsible and smart with our money. Excited about this one.
We're super excited to give the second award in the same category, financial management. And this one goes to the state of Colorado for their use of invitations to negotiate in their procurement and healthcare benefits program.
Yeah, so of course, we're going to hear from Colorado here in a second, but at a really high level, the state of Colorado was really intentional about moving from the RFP process, that traditional request for proposal, to what they call invitations to negotiate. And they found that it's just a more engaging, more innovative way to ask businesses to come in and offer their goods and services to the state and then work through the solutioning to get to the right outcome for all parties involved. So congratulations to the state of Colorado, and let's hear about their new program and how it's working.
We want to thank NASCA for its recognition of the state of Colorado with the Innovations in State Government Award for Financial Management for the use of invitations to negotiate in the procurement of healthcare benefits for our state employees. The Colorado Department of Personnel and Administration sets the rules, policies, and procedures for purchasing approximately $1.5 billion annually in goods and services that allow state agencies to meet the needs of Coloradans while ensuring tax dollars are spent wisely. Traditionally, Colorado utilized a request for proposals procurement process. This one-size-fits-all methodology often favors vendors and limits the bargaining power of the state. In 2019, the department set a goal to rethink the procurement process by creating an invitation to negotiate solicitation methodology. Through this approach, the state hoped to improve efficiency and foster innovation by encouraging competitive bidding through a solution-oriented negotiation process. ITNs benefit the state by allowing for more flexibility to adapt to the scope of work, pricing, and structure of a contract. Over the course of the year, the state procured more than 2/3 of its annual spend in goods and services utilizing ITNs. A large portion of this was achieved through the procurement of a new health insurance benefits package for state employees, which is typically done every 5 years. Most states rely on the request for proposals process for complex solicitations. This approach has remained largely the same for nearly 40 years, while the problems and solutions facing governments continue to grow more and more complex. The RFP process limits discussion and the ability to negotiate. The invitation to negotiate process is a highly innovative procurement methodology that few utilize in the public sector. An ITN provides greater flexibility than traditional RFPs, maintains the state's bargaining power, and ensures a meeting of the minds before the contract is signed. ITNs allow the state to negotiate with vendors on both the solution as well as the terms and conditions before a contract is awarded. The end result is a fully agreed upon contract. This represents an efficiency over traditional procurement methods. Whereas RFPs are more requirement-based, ITNs are solution-based. The increased competition created by the use of ITNs proved to be vital in procuring health benefits for Colorado state employees. The last time the state solicited for insurance carriers in 2014, it received only 4 responses to the RFP. This was largely due to the structure of the RFP process, which asked for one company to meet all the state's healthcare needs. Only a few large companies have that kind of product and capacity. This time, through the ITM process, the state was able to break up its needs into 12 distinct subsections, which increased competition and resulted in 84 proposals. As it relates to Colorado's new healthcare benefits package, the state reduced or controlled its spending and reinvested the savings to offer additional products to state employees. It allowed the state to negotiate with separate vendors at the same time, and vendors improved their offers as the state's needs became clearer and the negotiations evolved. The process also allowed the state to require key decision makers with vendors to attend the negotiations, which allowed for quick, real-time agreements to be made. While invitations to negotiate aren't a one-size-fits-all solution to the challenges of procurement, they present a fresh take on an old model and are particularly helpful in complex solicitations like enterprise IT systems or health insurance. Thank you again to NASCA and our counterparts around the country for recognizing the state of Colorado and its dedicated public servants.
Just before we go back to ACE, we've been talking a lot in the breakouts about changing workplaces and patterns of behavior and those sorts of things. And I thought this was one opportunity for us to show the NASCA family some of the behind the scenes stuff that goes on in putting this sort of digital thing together. So I'm in what's called the writer's room right now where we're hosting our breakout, but I just want to open this door behind me so you can see the backdrop. I'm going to put myself on microphone and I'm going to hand off to my friend Ace, but just so you see some of the sausage making, at least in the Richmond studios.
Thank you, Scott. So we are back. Congratulations again to Florida and Colorado. I get to hang on to this here award, and we will be handing more out over the course of our time together. But for today, we are popping to our next segment. It's one that we have found has just been a blast. It's called Did I Sign Up for This? We're talking to CAOs about some of the wild things that they experience in their roles. So we're going to run another video asking one of 4 questions, and this is the Did I Sign Up for This segment.
Weirdest request? Probably the vendor that tried to sell us a bleach system that would spray bleach into the ventilation systems of all of our state government buildings. I hope none of you bought that.
Other than the chicken poultry machine that the Department of Agriculture needed, whoever thought we would have to send out a special request to restock toilet paper, along with all of the PPE that we needed, such as masks, hand sanitizer, and everything else that went along with that. DHHR actually also purchased a number of thermometers that we're now using in the Capitol complex and in all other areas of the state. And again, like I said, whoever thought we would have to do that.
Oh my goodness, those videos have just been awesome to watch, everyone. So we're gonna do something that is quick before we end today. We're gonna go ahead and get the studio to spotlight me if you don't mind, and then I'll do that and we'll go on to our next session. Awesome, thank you. So before we end today, we just wanted to do kind of commemorate. We want to commemorate everything that we've been going through. And so this next session is just a little bit of recharge, a little bit of seeing everyone's faces. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to read some prompts, and I'm going to ask you to turn your video on if that applies to you. And so in a minute, I'll ask everyone to turn their videos off. And then I'll say, if this applies to you, turn your videos on. And what we're trying to do, yeah, everyone can go ahead and turn their videos off. You guys are doing awesome already going ahead and doing it. And you'll see a carousel of faces, and this will be a way to get to know our community. So NASCA is all about connecting peer-to-peers, making fast friends, having someone that you can call when you have an issue, when you want to talk through a struggling problem. And so we want you to get to see your peers around the country. So the first thing I want you to do is I want you to turn your video on if you had a cup of coffee this morning. Look at all those faces where you had your cup of coffee this morning. Yeah, I see some awesome faces. Brian, Lisa, Tammy, Robert. Oh, yep. And so everyone kind of wave, put yourself in gallery view. All right, let's go ahead and turn our videos off. All right, the next thing, turn your videos on if you are living in a different state than you were born. I see Dan and Tobin and Jennifer and Alan and Scott, Adrian, lots of people that are currently living in a different state than they were born. Awesome. All right, we'll turn them off. Let's meet some new fast friends. Turn your videos on if you're from the East Coast. Let's see if we have any East Coast people on the call today. We've got Tammy from Florida. We've got Kayla. Hey, so see, now what about turn your videos on if you're from the West Coast? We've got Lisa and Alan and Michael. Oh, look at all the West Coast people. Everyone kind of look around and say hi to the West Coast people. All right, what about, this is going to be an odd one, turn your videos on if you've ever ridden a horse. Anyone on, oh, Dan has ridden a horse. Kayla's ridden a horse. Robert and Cara and Steven. See, I thought we're from Kentucky, that I would just be the Kentucky person here. Awesome. See, so fun to meet new people. All right. What about turn your videos on if you have children at home with you right now? If you are doing the at-home teaching thing, we are in this. I see Kathy and Lisa and Barbara and Dustin and Scott. Lots of at-home teaching going on right now. And Robert, so fun to see your guys' faces. What about turn your videos on if you have a house plant? Tobin and Scott and Jennifer and Kayla. And oh, Stephen's even got his house plant. Thanks for sharing that house plant, everyone. That's awesome. All right. What if turn your videos on if you visited more than 3 countries? Ooh, we've got some travelers in this group. We've got Dan and Michael and Kathy and Alan and Kayla and Barbara and Dustin. So good to look around and wave and see those faces around you. All right, we've just got a few more. What about turn your videos on if you've ever worked for city government? Do we have any past people that passed were, oh, Tobin, Dan? We've got only a few people. What about turn your videos on if you've worked, oh, and Lisa, if you've ever worked for foreign services? I know I would get one person. Oh, and we've got Adrian and Alan. See, you guys have such interesting and fascinating backgrounds. So great to meet. What about turn your videos on if this is your first way that you've interacted with NASCA in the virtual world? You never attended an in-person event, but you are now able to join in the virtual world. I see we've got Lisa and Michael and Barbara and Scott. So awesome to meet some new friends of NASCA. What about turn your videos on if you've met someone new through this process? Someone that's not in your state, you've met someone across the country, you've connected, you've shared a new idea, you've got a new template. I see lots of friends and faces, Dustin and Barbara and Steven and Scott. That's what NASCA is about, is making new friends, sharing templates, being able to have this cross collaboration, peer-to-peer connections and discussions. All right, one last one. Turn your videos on. If you've learned something new today or over the virtual series, has anything been new that you have learned? I see lots of videos coming on. It's so great to see your all's faces. We're getting ready to close out, but why did we do that? One was just, you can use this exercise now if you want to use this exercise to get to know your members of your team. We spent a lot of time really thinking intentionally about virtual events and virtual gatherings and connecting people. And so one, we just wanted to showcase an activity that you can do now as we're trying our best to create culture and to create connectedness and to connect across peers and meet new people. And two, it was just something fun. So in 2 months from now, if you want to think, what do you remember about the virtual conference? Maybe this was just something fun that you remember. So with that, we have one of our supporters and sponsors that's going to give a final comment before we end. And I'm going to hand it back over to our studios to play that. But thank you guys so much. And we'll see you soon.
Fantastic. Well, let me thank everyone for being a part of our conversation today. Thank you, Jamie. That was a great way to round out this afternoon, learn something new about a colleague or a new friend. And it's a great way to just really wrap up today's activities. I will tell you that we would love to have you back on Thursday for our second virtual event in December. Several things coming up. We're going to be examining Virginia's virtual building inspection. They had to make a pivot and a shift with COVID-19. So we're going to be hearing from them in a state micro review. We're also going to be hearing from NeoGov, talking a little bit about their data. We're going to take an opportunity to do a focus group with those of you who are interested in looking at some data around hiring, specifically diversity in hiring. We're also going to hear from UKG and talk with Betsy Thomas and Talona and really talk about some opportunities around overtime and managing performance. And then you do not want to miss our travel ban Road Warriors field trips. This is going to be so much fun and perhaps may end up being the highlight of our entire virtual series. We have engaged with not only our state members, but our corporate partners as well. And we're going to fly across from the West Coast to the East Coast, learning a little bit about each stop along the way. You can see here the different components of our field trip. And we're just going to spend a few minutes, about 10 minutes in each location, but just have an opportunity to, again, learn some more about our states and our members, but also just engage. This is an opportunity to chit chat, network, meet someone new, learn something new. And I'm super excited because we're going to have a couple of things from Lexington, the home of NASCA. We're going to be popping in a local distillery for a bourbon tasting, as well as have a signature drink made for all of our NASCA friends. So you can see again all the wonderful things that we're going to be doing on Thursday. So you don't want to miss that. So dial in for sure. All right, let's wrap up this afternoon with a quick evaluation. Again, this is very helpful to us. If you'll just look at the 2 questions that we have on board here, that today's expectations were met as far as the session, small group discussion, and that you also learned something that you feel is valuable and relevant to you. And again, this is how we plan. This is how we really expand our breadth of professional development with our NASCA members. And hearing from you really guides our work and the work of our program committee as well. So go ahead and respond to that. I see several folks are doing so. Again, thank you for your feedback. We're so glad to have you today. We are just a minute over, so I'm going to definitely close out for the day. But again, please join us on Thursday, 2 p.m. again, Eastern time. We will see everyone for a fun-filled, packed day. Thanks again for joining us. We'll see everybody soon. Bye, guys.